And he was good looking. That's
And
one
he
of
was
the big
good, and he was
takeaways I've
good
got.
looking.
Yeah.
Just I mean,
We've
you
got
want
a
a poster.
good-looking quarterback.
You want a poster of him on your wall. Exactly.
Give him $100 million because he's so good
Because
looking.
he's just such a
We're
good
the Patriots, and we only have good-looking quarterbacks. Okay,
no
so
ugly quarterbacks. Hello and welcome to Athlantic, the show where an American and a Brit take turns crossing the pond to learn about sport culture in the UK and the USA. I'm Adam Jordan, your resident American.
And I'm Harry Collins, your resident Brit. Episode 28, which means our patron saint this week is who, Adam?
Somebody you've never heard of, but I'm glad it's high time that you have heard of this man. Buster Posey, a longtime catcher for the San Francisco Giants of the National League of Major League Baseball. He played for the Giants from 2009 to 2019, sat out the COVID season, and then his final swan song season was in 2021. He's from Georgia, and is just a career great for having had a fairly short season, just over 10 years, and now he's actually currently working in the front office as of this past season. He's been working in the front office for the San Francisco Giants. Been a Giant for life. When he was in college, he went to school at Florida State University and won the Golden Spikes Award, which you will have no idea what that is, but isn't that a cool name?
Heard of that.
It's a cool
That's
name
so
for an award.
cool.
The Golden Spikes Award. It's award. It's basically, if you know what the Heisman Trophy is,
Yep.
it's the award given out to the best player in college baseball in any given year. He won it. He just some kind of overall highlights: 7-time All-Star, 3-time World Series champion, an absolute cornerstone of the San Francisco Giants kind of mini dynasty. He won the National League's MVP in 2012. He was the National League's Rookie of the Year. He had several Silver Slugger awards. He was a really great hitter for, especially for being a catcher, which is a position in baseball, which, like, I don't know if we've gotten, Harry, to like this level of nuance in baseball, but for a myriad of reasons, catchers are often just like not as strong of hitters. And it basically
Sure.
just boils down to like the specialties of the position. Your value is your defense. And your ability to manage a game. It's not so much how you hit. But Buster Posey, one of the exceptions, he will be eligible for the Hall of Fame starting next year because it will be his 5th year being fully retired, and he will absolutely make it in on the first ballot. So that's a name to know. Buy stock in him now, Harry.
I have 3 very quick questions.
All right, rattle
aroused
off.
by your incredible explanation there. Number 1, in baseball, is there no more iconic item to which a trophy could be made than spikes? What does spikes mean? Is that like a boot?
Yeah,
Like the
exactly.
shoe?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, spikes are like the trophy is actually like literally like the shoes. Yeah, it's just a term. Really, baseball is, I guess, the only one that you refer to it in that. But yeah, they're called spikes because they're like metal spikes that basically stick out of your shoe.
But the trophy given to the best college player is
Yes.
not the golden mitt, the
Not a
golden
bat,
ball, the golden bat. It's the single piece of apparel that they share with other sports, the spikes.
That's a good
Great.
point.
Number 2, would you say sort of catchers are not celebrated like they should be? It seems like they're not fully appreciated from what you said, that a good batter is such a surprise. Are they sort of taken for granted, or is it like being a goalkeeper where it's sort of they're kind of crazy, but you need them and you know a good one when you see one?
I'd say it's closer to the latter. I mean, with baseball and most of the awards that you think of, most of the things that immediately come to mind when you think of a great baseball player have either to do with pitching or hitting.
Sure.
And people don't really first think of defense. Like, people obviously acknowledge when a player is very good defensively, but being
Sure.
a catcher, you're responsible for, like, you are the only defender who truly can see the entire field in front of you. I mean, you could argue the center fielder could, but there's not much he can do from way out in center field.
Yeah.
So the catcher also is usually calling, in tandem with the pitcher, sometimes in tandem with the bench, calling what pitches are going to be thrown in a game. They're very much managing the game from the field. They're the
That's
closest
cool.
thing to being an on-field coach. Yeah, exactly.
Do-
So there's intangibles there that I think are hard to quantify, and even the tangible things aren't necessarily normally kind of celebrated in baseball. So I think you make a good point.
Do baseball teams have like captains?
Some do, especially at like lower levels of the game. Most major league teams don't, or if they do, it's like a very quiet thing, and it's not like something that's
Sure.
obvious. Very, very, very rarely will you see like a captain actually wear like a C patch or something. Or,
Yeah.
like obviously we don't do armbands over here, but yeah, they're actually the last one that I can remember, and maybe there was another one before it, is actually the longtime catcher for the Boston Red Sox, a guy by the name of Jason Varitek. He used to wear a C on his jersey, and I always remember like thinking that's cool because it's just not something you see in baseball very often.
And my final question: you mentioned he is eligible to be in the Hall of Fame after how long?
5 years.
Is that a hard criteria?
Yeah. No,
That's cool. I never knew that.
Yeah, exactly. The Baseball Hall of Fame is something we absolutely should talk about one day,
Yes.
because it's a very, very weird, of all the halls of fame in American sports, the Baseball Hall of Fame is the one that is most driven by just the whims of emotion a lot of times. Because it's just like it's just groups of writers that come in and decide what makes a Hall of Famer. There's not like specific criteria. It's just kind of vibes.
Speaking of groups of journalists coming together to choose who wins what, shall we use that as a springboard into one of my much maligned issues with, and one of my few issues with American sports, which is the college football playoffs?
Yes, absolutely. However, as we'll remember from our college football episode, we have moved beyond the journalists deciding everything. They do
That's
set
true,
a lot
yes.
of the conversation because they still have a poll that influences a lot of people around the sport. But we have moved past that. It is still always controversial, but this year was an amazing college football national championship. Yeah, we can get right into it because we have a nice little comparison back and forth here between our two sporting systems, which is something that is our bread and butter and what we love to talk about. So we have had something that is pretty unprecedented in college football history, or really college sports history for that matter, where we've had a team and a program go from being legitimately the worst program, like statistically the worst program by wins and losses, like lost the most games, won the fewest games of all of the power conference teams. So as a way back reminder, the ACC, the Big 10, Big 12, SEC, and formerly the Pac-12, so now it's just Power 4. But still, they had the worst up until like a few years ago. They had like most losses, fewest wins of any of those power teams, and that team was Indiana University. A couple years ago, they hired this guy who is apparently a football genius named Curt Cignetti, who'd had success at every lower level that he in college football that he was a head coach in. Curt Cignetti, complete along with some name, image, and likeness and revenue share, upside, backed by one Mark Cuban, has created one of the best teams in college football history. The first team to ever go 16-0 and win a national championship. Yeah. So pretty unbelievable.
That's really amazing.
This year went unbeaten. Last year, I think they lost 2 games. But yeah, before that, they were in college football's basement, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, have come through and won a national championship, which makes somebody very special to the show. My mother, Gail Jordan, proud IU alum. Very, very happy.
Excellent. We obviously have spoken both about a college dynasty before in the Yukon women's basketball, and we've discussed at length the college football playoffs. Can you articulate just off the top of your head, can a dynasty really exist in college football where it is the pipeline, the primary talent pipeline to the NFL? Like, what are the chances that any of these players that have clearly had an incredible season stay for another year or two in Indiana? Surely the quarterback, surely that offensive team must be absolute, the must be coveted by every struggling NFL team.
Yeah, he'll be Fernando Mendoza will be the number 1 overall pick in next year's NFL draft, far and away. There's no debate about it. But yeah, you really, especially in today's day and age, where you've also got the transfer portal, where players can just after 1 year just go and transfer to as many times as they want to different schools, and they can play at a different school every single year that they're eligible to play in college football or any college sport. So yeah, I would say pretty categorically no. Any dynasty would basically just be the coaching staff, the athletic department.
Sure.
Like that's really about it. So we're, again, we've said it for a million times, we're in a really, really weird spot with college sports, especially college football. But we got to a place where this system this is kind of an example of the system working a little bit, because we've gotten to a place where a team like Indiana, who's always been terrible, can hire the right people, get the right players, and all of a sudden they're a national champion through this college football playoff system. So
my last question on Indiana, in a year where we've seen some massive NFL coaches leave their jobs, looking at Pittsburgh, looking at Baltimore, are college teams also a pipeline for talent straight into coaching as well? Obviously, the other impediment to whether or not a college football team could put together a dynasty is whether or not the coaching department, the coaches stay at all, because surely there'll be an attraction to, if asked, 2 or more NFL teams looking for new coaches, surely it's hard to look past what's Indiana's coach name?
Kurt Cignetti.
That's a great name.
Yeah,
Kurt Cignetti. Yeah, hello.
It's really good.
God, he sounds like a proper NFL coach already.
Truly.
Do you think is it typical for college coaches to step up to the major league?
Definitely, a lot of them have tried, and there's been mixed success there.
Sure.
Nick Saban, arguably the greatest coach in college football history, before he took the job at Alabama, he was a coach at LSU, Louisiana State University. But between those times, he went to the NFL, went to the Miami Dolphins, and it didn't work. But he came back to college and really kind of cemented his legacy as, like, he created a dynasty at Alabama, and ever since then, or really took on the torch from a dynasty of old, and made it left an incredible legacy. A lot of times, great college coaches don't turn into great pro coaches, and that's true no matter what the college sport. And it's just because the systems are so different, the incentives are so different. It's a development system versus a trying to get the most out of professional athletes. Those are just oftentimes different skill sets. So that's a good question. I know that there's been speculation of if Cignetti will interview for any of these jobs, any of these open jobs. I think there's like at least 10 open head coaching spots in the NFL right now. And so he's shut it down.
Right? You and I we're on the list somewhere.
Yeah, sure, why not? Somewhere. Where it's like kind of how, like, you're somewhere in the line of succession for
Yeah.
The king's death somewhere.
I'm
You and I
I'm
are
eighth.
on a
Yeah.
list somewhere. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're that hairy. Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Sorry. I didn't realize that. Well, I didn't know you were in LA. But okay, so that was an example of something in American sports where you've got kind of this rags to riches story, and we've got quite the opposite that I think is satisfying to both of us on your
Yes.
side of the pond.
I want to, and I could spend hours on this, but I'm going to keep this to just a couple of minutes and talk quickly about Crystal Palace and the crazy 9 months that they've had. If anyone listening doesn't know, Crystal Palace achieved one of those sort of impossible Cinderella stories by winning the FA Cup last May, where they beat Manchester City. By all accounts, they had a relatively straightforward progression to the final, but then you've got to play Manchester City, who are the best team in England and have been for a decade. So
Your
won.
reward is getting triangle corner flags, which I think is cool. I think that's
That
a
is
really
cool.
cool tradition.
I think that's cool as well. And what I didn't realize, and maybe they did this for the first time this year, the FA Cup made special footballs with gold panels on, so that Crystal Palace could use them. So they were playing with a golden ball.
That's cool.
For all of their FA Cup games this year,
cool.
which is a shame because they only played one. Because last 2 weeks ago, Crystal Palace suffered the most shocking FA Cup upset of all time when they lost in regular time 2-1 to Macclesfield FC. Now, there are some really important things to know about this, and it really speaks to the first episode of Athlantic and the 15th episode, where we talked about the differences, as you mentioned earlier, between the European and the American models of sport. So Crystal Palace do the unthinkable and win the FA Cup. It's not unthinkable. They are a top 15 side in England. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that they win and they win the FA Cup, but it's still nice. It's nice when it's anyone other than the big six teams currently in the Premier League. But they did it, and albeit this isn't really I don't think this is a competition that should be revered in the same way. They won the curtain raiser called the FA Community Shield, where the winner of the FA Cup plays the winner of the Premier League, and they beat Liverpool. So they won 2 bits of silverware in either side of the summer break, which was amazing. Some of their protagonists from their team last year moved on in the summer. Eberechieze moved to Arsenal in a really interesting transfer where it sounds like he called the Arsenal manager and said, "Hey, I might go somewhere else, but I'd rather come to you." And the Arsenal manager sprung on that opportunity to poach him. And then Crystal Palace set about this year playing in Europe, which is a reward for winning the FA Cup, albeit due to a mistake amongst the club hierarchy. They could not play in the competition they had actually earned entry to. They were relegated to a different European competition, but we haven't got enough time for that. Anyway, so Crystal Palace on this amazing, huge upward tick with a charismatic, tactically sound and innovative manager with some cult hero players right into the 2025-26 season. And for the first couple of months, they were doing brilliantly. At one point, they were on an 18, 19, 20 game streak without losing. Wow. They were doing okay in Europe and playing very well in the Premier League, but there was a real worry that in this hyper-capitalist sports system that we have in Europe, that we have in football, that Crystal Palace hadn't spent the money that they should have in rejuvenating their team. And a couple of their players looked to be running out of their contract this year, including their club captain, Mark Gahey. So we fast forward to January 2026. They lose in dramatic style to the lowest ranked team left in the competition, a team that were 119 places below them in the football pyramid. and a team that were born in the last 10 years as a Phoenix club from a team that folded. So this is so now we get to talk about the other Cinderella story here is one Cinderella having their moment and winning the FA Cup last year, and then a second Cinderella comes along, kicks them in the private, and then runs away with their glory. Bless them, the FA Cup, the golden balls won't be used again this year. It's so funny. And then the week after this happens, the captain, Mark Gahey, is sold to Manchester City. The day after he's sold, the manager who won them their first piece of silverware in, I think, a century or so, announces that he will be leaving at the end of this year. And then today, their star striker, who performed brilliantly last year, announced that he would also like to leave the club. So what this narrative really shows us about English football is, number one, there is space for these Cinderella, these underdog stories to spring up from anywhere. And number two, kind of similar to what we said a couple of weeks ago, nobody likes winners. And bizarrely, it feels like the European model, specifically for football, is stacked so aggressively against underdogs still. Because, Crystal Palace achieved this amazing thing. And here we are, 9 months after a cup title that should have propelled them into a whole another competitive field, and they are looking increasingly likely to finish January in a worse position than they were, when they won the FA Cup 9 months ago. That is the brutal reality of such a aggressively capitalist game. And there's many cases to be said. If you knew that your star player was going into the final year of their contract and they'd indicated that they didn't want to re-sign, you should have sold them in the summer and recovered as much value as possible.
Yeah.
Whereas I think every football fan and every Crystal Palace fan would say, actually, we want our captain to stay, swallow the cost, swallow the loss of revenue by selling him, keep the star captain. Let's push for another title, because the European competition that they're in is completely winnable if they don't sell all of their good players in January. Do a little cost-benefit analysis and then let us have this last moment with our captain. Yeah. Instead, the last memory they will have of their captain in the flesh is him apologizing to the fans after the defeat in Macclesfield. So it's specifically these last 2 weeks between Indiana and Crystal Palace, we've seen the absolute embodiment of what we talked about in episodes 1, 2, and 15. The stark difference between how our two different sporting cultures and two different sporting systems treat underdogs.
Yeah.
And it was so good, and it was so good. It was such an interesting thing to happen at the same time. So yeah, I'm glad. As a Brighton fan, obviously there's a little bit of Schadenfreude for Palace not doing very well. But as a football fan, I feel so deeply for Palace fans who have been turned on by their captain, their manager, and clearly their chairman. So sympathies begrudgingly go out to our Crystal Palace supporting fans.
Yeah, it. I feel like we also saw a similar thing with how Nottingham Forest's unexpected success.
Yeah, you're right.
Kind of led to another downfall. I mean, we've talked about this so many times. Like, we have seen this story play out over and over again, and not saying they're apples to apples comparisons, but with that example alone, with Portsmouth, and obviously again, there's other financial happenings there, but it's hard to maintain it. It's unsustainable, some might say. But what was sustainable for almost 20 years, how is that for a segue? Yes, please give me my flowers for that one. Was the era of the dynasty of the New England Patriots, who are back and relevant again after their long drought of not making an AFC championship game of 7 years or something like that.
Yeah, bad
they've
for
had
them.
they've had to
Boo.
wait for so long to make it back to the
Wow.
conference championship game. But here they are roaring back again with our favorite Carolina boy Drake May leading them on the field. But we're not here to talk about the current Patriots. We're here to take a look back and teach a Brit about the era of the New England Patriots dynasty and how they absolutely ruled the pro football world for almost 20 years. Harry,
I'm so excited about this.
I'm not, because I'm excited to talk about it, but any football fan that's not a Patriots fan just feels like, man, we just ended this. We don't need to go back to this, but it is objectively one of the most incredible stretches of success of any sports franchise anywhere, just to be consistently at the top for, or near the top for, basically, like I said, almost 20 years. So, Harry, who are you familiar with from this dynasty? There's a lot of names that float around there, and we'll get to kind of some structure here, but I just kind of want to get your high level, quick take on what you know as somebody who didn't kind of live it in real time.
Sure. I think any sports fan in the UK who has even a passing interest in American football completely agrees with your point about the Patriots were so good for so long that they kind of became the pantomime villain. We kind of didn't we relished when they lost, even though they weren't playing a team that we cared about. But what's crazy to me is I can think about the New England Patriots. I knew they were so good. I can only name 3 people that I am absolutely confident were a big part of that team, and these specifically 2 of them, Belichick and Tom Brady, take up so much space in this conversation, in the zeitgeist, the orbit around what we know about the Patriots, that even Gronkowski, I don't know anything about anyone other than those 2. Whereas, when we talk about the Chiefs going, 2 in a row, 3 in a row, I know far more about that team. It felt like far more of a, there was a spread, there was more collaboration. But between the Patriots, it just seems like those 2 absolute titans of American football, just the inevitability of the Belichick Brady train. So beyond that, I don't know anything.
Fair
and
enough.
I cannot wait to find out.
Fair enough. Well, obviously those 2 loom large, and I think some of that is probably a little bit of recency bias too, because as time goes on, the names that aren't kind of the top dogs, if you will, kind of get forgotten. So I think no matter what, I think it's totally fair. But I totally agree with the sentiment. I mean, I think looking at the Wikipedia page, if you just Google New England Patriots Dynasty, I think the title of the page is the Brady Belichick Dynasty. Actually, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Brady Belichick Dynasty. So it just shows you those 2 are definitely, they made it happen though, and I guess we can actually just address this now. There's going to be so many names as we talk through this and that we leave off, and it's not because their stories are uninteresting. It just is further reading and further research for you down the line, because part of the nature of a football team is there's 53 guys on the pro roster, the active pro roster every year, and there's a lot of stories for each of them. So a lot of good in-between bits, but want to kind of set a high level here. So we're going to focus on kind of the background and the rise, because with most dynasties, there's humble beginnings before what kind of becomes the main success. We'll talk about the successes, the 6 Super Bowls. We'll talk about those main characters, including Brady and Belichick. I mean, those are 2 of the 3 biggest ones. The other one is a guy by the name of Robert Kraft, who owns the team. So that he also plays a big part of it. We'll talk about scandals. We'll talk about what makes them the evil empire in everyone's mind, aside from the fact that they win. And as we mentioned previously, and as I will continue to have be a theme, though I think we can expand it to beyond just Americans. But America loves a winner until we don't. So other than the fact that they won, there's definitely some lightning rod moments that make them the evil empire. And we'll talk about the adversity. So the times where they fell short and the times where America celebrated because of it.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you say we go on a little journey back to the days of before the NFL and AFL merger, when there were two separate big, important professional football leagues. There was the NFL and the AFL, the National Football League and the American Football League. The one of the original teams in the AFL was a team founded in 1960 called the Boston Patriots that had the same logo as the New England Patriots that we know and love today. It's the same exact thing, except one day when they moved to Foxborough, Massachusetts. They decided to take on the moniker of the New England Patriots and representing kind of the whole region instead of just Boston, which is an interesting thing because that's not really something like you don't see too many team names that are like regions. Like you don't see like the Pacific Northwest Mariners or the Great Lakes Packers. They're specific cities that are represented, or sometimes a state, but not usually a region.
Yeah, I was going to say the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, honestly,
big job of picking up too.
Yeah, that's probably the next closest thing, unless there's something out there that I'm just like completely blanking on, and there's people like yelling at their screen right now. And which case, when I go back and edit this later, I'll be just as frustrated as you. Were you not? But yeah, so the New England Patriots are part of the AFL, and going back through their original days as an AFL team, they reached one AFL championship when they were kind of the Boston Patriots between 1960 and 1970. They beat the Bills in the divisional playoffs, but then lost in that championship game to the Chargers. And that even in that season, they went 7-6-1. So it's not like they had, some amazing year. The fewest losses they had in any season was in 1964 when they went 10-3. But then after that, in 67 through 1975, they had 10 losses, 10 losses, 10 losses, 12 losses, 8, 11, 9, 7, 11. So really
they sucked.
They were just bad. They were at the basement of the league. They had a few years with some where they made the playoffs, but never really made any noise until 1985, which was the first year they actually made the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 20. However, they faced one of the greatest teams of all time in NFL history, the famous 85 Bears, who won Super Bowl 20 by a score of 46-10. So wow. Boston, the New England Patriots, you're not allowed to have nice things in a region where they've got a baseball team who at that time had a very long World Series drought despite having many World Series titles. They had a hockey team that had some previous success, but none in years. You really just had the Boston Celtics, who were one of the best teams, especially in the 80s. But the Patriots were the lowest of the low in that city.
Wow.
So you've got that team in 85, 86. They actually have the same record, but get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. And then they go all the way until 1996, until the dynasty didn't start, but 96 was the first year where we went, oh, okay, this could be something eventually. And that is right around where we're going to begin our story. We're going to start here with our first character that we're going to meet. It's a guy by the name of Drew Bledsoe, who, as you'll note, is not Brady, Belichick, or Kraft, but he's just as important to the foundations of this dynasty as anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, he was drafted in 1993, so 3 years before that Super Bowl appearance that we talked about in '96. First overall, he kind of had the hopes of the team on his shoulders. He was kind of this like prototypical guy. Had a huge right arm. He was just he looked like a quarterback. If you look up quarterback in the dictionary, like, it's Drew Bledsoe, especially like in the '90s. He was just that guy. He had like long flowy hair. He's like a conventionally attractive dude. Like, he was the guy, and he was really, really good. Like, Drew Bledsoe was very, very good. In fact, he kind of led the team to that Super Bowl in 1996. They were 11-5. The next year they go 10 and good.
11-5 still isn't like a great record, is it?
It's not great, but it's far better than the previous years in the 80s where they were in 1993, years before they drafted him, they went 1-15. The year that they secured his draft rights, they went 2-14. So like, this team is in the basement at this time. So like, they're just looking for something.
Hence the number 1 overall pick, right?
Yeah, it's the number 1 overall pick, exactly. And there's more to it than this. Of course, we could talk about Bill Parcells, who's a legendary coach for the New York Giants, who comes over, gets hired in 1993, kind of at that same time. So like, he's a big part of it too. It's not just Drew Bledsoe, but like, in a great starting quarterback, there is hope for any franchise. So in 1996, they get to that Super Bowl. Bill Parcells is the head coach. Things are looking up. Things are pretty good. Now we're actually going to have to backtrack it now that we've kind of set that Drew Bledsoe, Bill Parcells thing. We're going to go back to the year just after that draft and the hiring of Parcells, to a guy by the name of Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft owns the New England Patriots to this day. He bought the team in 1994, and he is a lifelong New Englander. He was somebody who was a fan of the team, had season tickets growing up. And
that's cool.
Yeah, so like, it's one of those like classic, like, yeah, that's the kind of person that you hope is an owner of the team. Robert Kraft has an up and down reputation, shall we say, off the field. We're just going to focus on the significance of him to this rivalry. However, I encourage you to look into the story of Robert Kraft. It is not all rainbows and unicorns. However, he bought this team in 1994. He actually had kind of a difference in he kind of had a difference in philosophy with Bill Parcells. So actually, in that 1996 Super Bowl, he felt like Bill Parcells kind of wanted too much control over the team, or he just didn't kind of see eye to eye with him. And after that Super Bowl from the 96-97 season, Parcells actually, like, before the Super Bowl, it was like pretty much everybody knew that that was going to be his last game coaching the team.
Crazy.
So like, that kind of hung over everybody's head during that kind of Super Bowl run where like, there's a ton of uncertainty. That became the story. Became tough for them to focus on anything else. So like, good as Bledsoe was, good as the rest of the team was, it just couldn't happen. They go on. They have some other seasons that are okay. Bledsoe is still there, but it's clear that this guy is going to be the consistent piece for the future. In fact, Robert Kraft signed Drew Bledsoe to, at the time, the longest and most expensive contract in NFL history in 2001. 10 years, $103 million. You can imagine the headlines. The $100 million quarterback. That is a contract. You're supposed to have this guy who you drafted in 1993. You're signing him through 2011. That is a long commitment.
Wow.
Like, just putting that into perspective.
But he'd already played for them for 6 years, 6 seasons.
For more than that at that point as well. Yeah, 94, 7 seasons. Yeah, I guess it would have been.
Wow.
Yeah, so like, he was the guy. He was the golden boy. again, kind of came up through the organization and was terrific. After this Kraft Parcells split, the next thing that we have to talk about is something that actually happened 1 year prior, in all the way over in Cleveland. Had nothing to do with the Patriots at all. But there's a coach that gets fired after the 1995 season, so just before that Super Bowl season for the Patriots. A guy by the name of Bill Belichick, the head coach of the Cleveland Browns.
Wow.
Yeah, he's
someone I've heard of.
Someone you've heard of. We've finally gotten to that point. He went 5-11 in his final season in Cleveland. He lost all confidence from the fan base. He was actually like literally hanged in effigy at one point in front of the stadium.
He was their head coach.
He was their head coach.
Wow.
And a lot of the reason that he was hanged in effigy is because they did so poorly after he made the decision to bench a quarterback that was beloved in Cleveland, a guy by the name of Bernie Kosar. He was like a really good quarterback, but he got injured, and when he came back, he played him again, but he just wasn't the same. Like he'd lost a lot of his speed. He just wasn't the same Bernie Kosar that he had been before. But even though he was still super popular in Cleveland, Belichick decided to put the team first in his mind and put him on the bench, try somebody new at quarterback. The fan base hated it. They loved this guy Kosar. So like that was part of the reason for it, but again, just kind of that perfect storm. That said, he eventually gets another chance from Robert Kraft, or by Robert Kraft when Kraft hires him in 2000 to become the head coach of the New England Patriots. Again, quarterbacked by one Drew Bledsoe, who just the year after would get that 10-year, $100 million quarterback. Guy who's been a New England Patriot for his entire career and is much beloved. So,
can see where this is going.
We might be able to see where this is going. We now have to go to that first draft that as head coach and guy who has the keys to the entire program, Bill Belichick. In his first draft in the year 2000. The Patriots had a lot of needs in that draft. I think they fortified their defense quite a bit, but the one thing that they didn't need was a quarterback. They had Bledsoe. They hadn't obviously yet signed him to this giant contract, but again, like he was the guy, as I've said ad nauseum here, because I'm really trying to reinforce how set they were here.
And he was good looking. That's
and
one of the big takeaways I've got.
Good looking. Yeah,
we've
you
got
want
a
a poster.
Good looking quarterback.
You want a poster of him on your wall. Exactly.
Give him $100 million because he's so good looking.
He's just such a.
We're the Patriots, and we only have good looking quarterbacks. Okay,
ugly quarterbacks. So
we're in the draft.
It gets to the point where we're in the later rounds of the draft. We're in the 6th round. The Patriots have the 199th pick. And they're just kind of...
Out of how many?
Out of... I think there's 7 rounds at this point. I'm trying to remember how many there were at the time, but I think there were 7 rounds.
Right, so we are deep. We're so far at the back. It's not even on the TV anymore.
Yeah, it's like... It is because everything's on TV, but yes, it's not like it's not. Nobody's paying attention at this point. The Patriots are barely paying. They're saying like, all right, let's just take the best player available, and the best player available in a draft that had already had several quarterbacks taken. I believe, and I should know this number exactly, but it was I think it was like in the teens number of quarterbacks already taken. With this 199th overall pick, they take the best player available, a quarterback out of Michigan, a guy by the name of Tom Brady, who, again, he might come up later. Don't really know.
It depends if he's good looking or not.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, like you can be the judge.
Tom Brady is he's a good looking guy.
At the time, At the time, maybe a little less so.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool.
So we have this guy as a backup quarterback. He's honestly, he's not even like the backup quarterback. He's like, we don't even know if he's going to make the roster. When you get drafted that late in the draft, you're not like, that's not a guarantee that you're going to be on the team. That's essentially a tryout. Like if you're a 6th round pick, you show up to training camp, you hope to impress the coaches and stick around, maybe make the practice squad, maybe you become a 3rd string quarterback at that point, depending on how well you do. Well, he does enough to stick around. Fast forward to 2001, we're in week 2. This is the first game for the Patriots after 9/11. Emotions are high in the stadium. I think this was like 2 weeks after 9/11. And the team is 0-1. They come off a loss in that first week. They're playing the New York Jets. Drew Bledsoe drops back for a pass, rolls outside of the pocket, takes a massive hit to the point where he's hospitalized. He has internal bleeding. We don't know what's... obviously, we didn't know that at that time, but he's out. He's not in great shape. He's not able to come back into this game. So enter this guy, this 24-year-old Tom Brady, who nobody's like really heard. I mean, people have heard of him, but like nobody's expecting anything of him. And he found success early. He came in and like he didn't lose the game for the team. I say that the team did lose the game, but it wasn't like because he played really badly. It was just they were already down and he was a guy in his first NFL game. They went on a little bit of a winning streak, and Tom Brady, he can lead the team here in the interim. At that point, when Bledsoe came back, Bill Belichick had a decision to make. Do you bench
Bill Belichick, who was already ousted from Cleveland for doing the exact same thing?
Yes. Who was hanged in effigy by fans for doing the exact same thing. And again, remember, Belichick is in his first season, his second season, I guess. So he's not like set here. But Tom Brady, he kept Tom Brady in even when Bledsoe was back and ready to go. And Bledsoe never became the starting quarterback again in New England.
And he sat on $100 million contract.
Yeah. And he has a mirror in front of him on the bench so that he can just look at himself.
Look at his attractive face.
I fear that by saying that early, I just like completely set this ridiculous expectation. Like, he's a fine looking dude. But anyway, but that first game back, the pressure got ramped up because Brady had like a really bad game. Like, he threw multiple interceptions. It was like, it was not a good look. Like, the pressure was on. People were like, oh my God, why have they, benched Bledsoe? But anyway, ended up just like meshing well with Belichick. He recovers. But again, like Brady or Bledsoe isn't the starter ever again. So we've introduced Tom Brady, this rookie. He's kind of come out of nowhere. Fans are starting to take to him now that he's finding success.
Did Bledsoe move on and go somewhere else?
Eventually he did. He I actually don't remember where his next stop was, but he definitely did like go and play somewhere else. He wasn't just like the backup for New England for I think it was like maybe like the Cowboys or something. No, he went to the Bill. He did end with the Cowboys. But he went to the Buffalo Bills the following season. In that first season, the Patriots go 11-5. They win the AFC East division. That is again, this is in Belichick's second year. This is Brady taking over the reins of this team. Everybody kind of rallied around Brady. Everybody kind of rallied around Belichick. And they go on. They win the AFC East. They're in the playoffs. Ahead of schedule. The team was supposed to be a good team. But they weren't supposed to be great. But anyway, everything just like seemed to be lining up well. Game one in the playoffs, because they won their division, they get to host They get to host a team. They host the Oakland Raiders. They win dramatically at the end with a last-second field goal. It's a game that there's a ton of snow all around. This is the first game that they've hosted, the playoff game that they've hosted in years in New England. It's one of the most beautiful games. I'll have to show you some clips one day. They're going up in a David versus Goliath matchup. They're going up against a team known as the greatest show on turf, the 2001-2002 St. Louis Rams. Yeah, they have Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk.
Story.
Oh yeah, there's documentaries on this team. They were the best offense in the league. They were, I think, the third best defense, something like that. Like, they were unbelievable. Yeah, like I said, they had Marshall Faulk. Kurt
Warner deserves his own episode. That's an amazing story.
That's fair. Honestly, he if we go back and like redo Patron Saiyans, he could be a Patron Saiyan. He'd be a great Patron Saiyan.
Yes, he would.
Yeah. So
Belichick's chosen Brady. He's made his choice.
He's made his choice.
$100 million is sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
And the 199th pick in the draft is gonna start the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Against the toughest offense in the league.
Toughest offense
You've
and
said,
one of the toughest defenses. Yeah.
You've said David versus Goliath.
Yep.
And it hurts as a passive American sports fan to even consider the Patriots as David in this case.
Yeah, again, put yourself like at the time. They had been to an AFL championship game. They'd been to 2 Super Bowls, but otherwise it was an entire history of futility. You also have to think, and I don't know how much of this is looking back at it with rose-tinted glasses, but this was right after 9/11. The New England Patriots are a red, white, and blue team.
Yeah.
They're the scrappy underdog. They're called the Patriots. Like, it's not the worst combination there to get people rooting for you. You've got this young upstart quarterback who's like, all of a sudden seeming to lead his team to something great. And at that moment in that Super Bowl, Tom Brady kind of had his first signature game-winning drive that we came to know and hate for so many years. Where he had the ball toward the end of the game and would lead his team down the field to score a touchdown or to set his team up to score a touchdown and win the game. And the New England Patriots won Super Bowl 36, their first ever Super Bowl. Robert Kraft, the kid who grew up as a fan of the Patriots, going to games at the old Foxborough Stadium, who bought his childhood team. He got to lift the Lombardi Trophy along with Belichick and Brady. Belichick, who 5 years ago was run out of town in Cleveland, is vindicated as this football savant. So pretty incredible. So we really have to go in depth on that first season of the Dynasty because it's just like that sets the table for everything else. We won't go through all of their other Super Bowls. They win again 2 years later. Against the Carolina Panthers, I believe.
Stern opposition.
I know. Well, back then, hey, Jake Delhomme was legit. Let's see. Did they win the? I'm trying to remember who they beat, and yeah, they beat the Panthers in Super Bowl 38, and then 39 they played the Eagles. And they won. I was trying to remember the order of those because these are actually like some of my first sports memories were these 2 Super Bowls. Like I remember them happening.
Cool.
Because like the Panthers were, even though I grew up in Raleigh, like, they're Carolina's team. So
yep.
Yeah, I remember that being a thing. So that's a fun little side note there. But anyway, so they win Super Bowl 38. They win Super Bowl 39. If you're counting there, Harry, that's 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. That is when people start calling the Patriots a dynasty. That's when legacies are made. So again, this team that like had known nothing but failure for years, all of a sudden, is at the top of the football world.
I imagine this is when people started to dislike them.
Yes.
America likes a winner until it doesn't.
Until it doesn't. And I would say a lot of it kind of came in the interim. I think people started to be like, all right, these guys are winning a little too much. I'm a little tired of seeing these guys. But there's some things that we'll get to here in the interim between their third and fourth Super Bowls, because as you see in the notes, and if you have done your homework at home, they win Super Bowl 36, 38, and 39. They don't win another Super Bowl for 10 years. They don't win until 49.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They didn't all of a sudden become bad in those years. Tom Brady was still Tom Brady. Bill Belichick was still Bill Belichick. They were still like in. They were fighting for Super Bowl, being right there in the mix, one of the best teams in the league. In fact, their best team is what we'll get into next, which is their first kind of real bit of adversity. And it's David versus Goliath 6 years later, but it's reversed. The Patriots are very much Goliath, going up against the New York Giants in Super Bowl 42. The Patriots, at this point, are 18-0. They went 16-0 in the regular season, won 2 playoff games, and are then trying to become only the second team ever since the 72 Miami Dolphins to complete a perfect season with a Super Bowl.
Wow.
I've spoiled the ending for you, Harry. So the New York Giants are facing these Patriots that are trying to complete the perfect season. They are very much like everybody in America is rooting for the New York Giants at this point. Everybody wants this dynasty to be toppled. We'll get into some of the other reasons why soon, but everybody is like ready for this to end. And it ends on one of the most dramatic plays in NFL history. I can't roll the clip because I don't want this video to get taken down. But please, I think you said you've seen this, but we need to see the David Tyree helmet catch. And I need to see
this
reaction.
Is Eli Manning?
Eli Manning, yep. Peyton's brother.
Eli Manning. He's thrown it. It's gone a good 40 yards.
Yep.
Yep. And then who takes the catch?
David Tyree is his name.
Yeah, pretty. Okay, actually, you know what? This doesn't move me.
It doesn't.
This doesn't move me. I've seen many. I love watching compilations of incredible catches like that. I think the best bit about this play isn't the catch; it's the throw. It's the fact that Eli Manning is under 4 bodies and escapes the pocket to get it away. The catch is great, but I think there is a fair slice of luck to the catch.
Interesting.
Where I don't think there's much luck to the throw. I think the catch, it's I think the best catch I've ever seen, and I actually got to watch it live, was another Giants catch, Odell Beckham Jr.
Yep.
The one way behind his head.
Yep.
That was incredible. This just looks a little bit desperate, which again is still amazing, and it's in a Super Bowl. But the best bit about this play is Eli Manning, who was also a Super Bowl winning quarterback, escaping a scrum of players, and then throwing a dart. Again, the guys caught it under real pressure. There's a Patriot in his backpack.
Yeah,
but I've seen this. I didn't know if I was going to hold that in. But yeah, I don't care that much about the helmet catch. I do love the throw.
The
throw's amazing.
That's wild. I'm glad.
And again,
I'm glad you've
it
gotten
happened
that
in the
out there.
Super Bowl, but
again, not just the Super Bowl though, but against the perfect season team. So there's so many more stakes to that. But yeah, we should be crediting Eli Manning just as much. Eli Manning, who is one of the most important side characters to this story, because he actually is the only quarterback, and the Giants are the only team to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl twice during this dynasty. Everybody loved them for it. They won in Super Bowl 42, and then just 4 years later in Super Bowl 46, they did it again. So they are the reason that the Patriots don't have 8 Super Bowls right now. We can also thank the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 52, but that is not a story that we're going to go that in depth into. So we get to, I think now we're at a good point to start talking about some of the other reasons that they are hated, despite the fact that they just win. Because it's not just that they win and like, yeah, Bill Belichick is like a bit of an old curmudgeon-y guy. Like people aren't like, people like don't hate him that much because of like the person he is, although there's plenty of people do. But like, that's not like the overwhelming reason. Most of it is because of the three moments that we'll get into. Number one, I would like you to go check the other clip that I sent you, the one with all the players in the snow. And this actually goes back to something that I intentionally glossed over earlier. This was that first playoff game on the road to the Super Bowl 36 title. And I want to preface this by saying that the New England Patriots did nothing wrong here. There is no scandal. There is no like wrongdoing. Everything was fully by the book in this. But go ahead.
I've not seen this.
Okay, great.
This is not something I'm familiar with. I'm looking at the line of scrimmage. There's just under 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And New England are losing.
Yes. So what you're about to see, and I encourage everybody to like go like watch this along with us. Yes, it's dumping snow.
We will put the link to this video in all of our descriptions.
Yes, absolutely. Encourage everybody to watch along if you've not seen it. But what you're about to see is Tom Brady is going to attempt. He's going to attempt kind of do a pump fake, throwing the football. He's going to kind of like throw it, kind of keep it in his hand, tuck the ball down, and like stop his throwing motion. Then you're going to see one of the Oakland Raiders defenders swat the ball out of his hands.
Yep.
And that looks like a fumble because if you're throwing the ball forward and the ball gets batted out of your hands, you're trying to throw the ball. That's not a fumble. That's an incomplete pass because you've made an attempt to throw the ball. You're not a runner in that scenario. What Tom Brady has done is pulled the ball down, and he has no intention to throw the ball. The ball is completely like at his side. He's not intending to throw this. It gets punched out. That sure looks like a fumble. So go ahead and watch it.
And a fumble means a turnover.
Correct.
But an incomplete pass does not.
Correct. So in the Patriots are trying to come back here to like if they fumble the ball, they lose. Like the game is over.
Sure. And the Raiders are all over it.
The Raiders are all over it. They recover the fumble. They're celebrating on the sideline. So now that you've seen it, they take the officials take a look at it.
Saw that.
They take an official
VAR.
review. Yeah, exactly. Proto VAR. They're looking at the replay and they determine that it was an incomplete pass, and everybody is shocked, including Tom Brady himself, who thought it was a fumble. But the reason, again, New England did nothing wrong here. Nothing was officiated incorrectly. The NFL had a really stupid rule called the tuck rule that was taken out after this game, where it said, basically, it doesn't matter. If you're a quarterback and you're throwing it and you tuck the ball back, we're still counting that as a passing motion, even though it's objectively not. So this was not something that Patriots did nothing wrong in this case, but it was something where people looked back on it after they became a dynasty and said, man, everything goes these guys' way. Even these stupid, obscure rules that nobody's ever heard of before, the NFL gives them that success. So that's kind of, I put in air quotes, scandal number one. Have you heard of either of these other two scandals, Spygate or Deflategate?
I've heard of Deflategate. Deflategate, yes, I have. Yeah.
Great. These are the two.
Spygate, no, I'm excited about Spygate.
Okay, cool. These are the two things where the Patriots actually did do something wrong. And part of the reason I want to be quick here is because I could get into all of the back and forth here. There's like so much hand wringing about like what actually happened, how evidence was handled, how the punishments were, what punishments were and weren't levied. But at the end of the day, for the story of the Patriots dynasty, what matters is that like these scandals happened. The Patriots were determined to have done something wrong, and it made people think differently about this dynasty, and it made people like actively root against it more. So Spygate happened in 2007, which, if you're counting, was the season of that David versus Goliath Super Bowl where the Giants toppled the perfect season Patriots, and so that's part of what made it like even more satisfying. So in 2007, the Patriots in week 1 were found out to have been having a video coach shoot video of the opposing New York Jets sideline, but specifically of the coaches giving signals to their team. So like they're saying like, okay, we're gonna run this defense. We want, we're gonna have the defensive linemen, kind of attack in this way. It's gonna, we're gonna have our defensive backs play zone or man, like that kind of like they're looking to try to decode those signals and be able to kind of gain an advantage there. They're doing this all out in the open. Like the Jets coaches are very much doing this in front of play. This is something that happens in football all the time. Yeah, like this is a very normal thing. And it's also wildly normal for teams to try to decode those signals, try to capture those signals, know what they mean so that they can get an edge. What's not okay is that it was explicitly written in the NFL rulebook that you were not allowed to video those signals and like use that as a way to get an advantage. Like it was like written. Sure. I don't have the rule in front of me, and it doesn't matter. But like it is explicit. Like what the Patriots did was like explicitly against the rules. They got found out for this. It was a huge scandal. People start thinking about like, oh boy, is this tainting these 3 championships? And it started giving the Patriots the label, that black label of cheaters.
Yeah.
So, the way that this was found out was actually kind of interesting because Bill Belichick was turned in for like this rule violation by the head coach of the New York Jets, who used to be an assistant coach for Bill Belichick.
Fun. Okay, cool.
Which is really fun. The other thing at this point is they find that Bill Belichick got away with only a fine. The NFL didn't suspend him. They fined the Patriots. They revoked one of their draft picks in the next season, but everybody took that as a slap on the wrist, and everybody was like, oh boy,
it's soft.
Robert Kraft, who with his team having won 3 Super Bowls, having been an owner for many years at this point, he's got a lot of sway with the commissioner. Did Robert Kraft, did his influence have something to do with this? Like, these are all the questions that circulate around a team where you're not getting the benefit of the doubt in the public eye. So that was right before that Super Bowl 42. Fast forwarding to 2015, we have Deflategate, which you have heard about. And this was an instance where Tom Brady himself was accused of having directed team personnel to intentionally deflate the footballs prior to below the level that's like allowed by the league. It was 12.5 pounds per square inch is the minimum number in the guidance. And he had them deflated to like, I think like around an average of like 11. I think there were like 12 game balls, and like 11 of them were found to be too low. And there's like video, it's like it gets so dramatic. There's like video of like a ball boy like going into a locker room and then coming like with a bag of balls and coming out with with the same bag. And there's like Tom Brady apparently like destroyed his cell phone at one point to like hide evidence. Like it was a whole thing. Tom Brady ended up getting suspended 4 games for this. I think the Patriots got fined $1 million.
Well, then you get Drew Bledsoe back.
Yes, he came.
That's why you've got the £100 million, $100 million contract. So when Tom Brady's a cheat, you can just go and get Drew. He's here.
Exactly. They
Don't
brought
let
him
him
out of
leave.
retirement. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, and people are like, oh my God, this is terrible. And
To be clear, why are deflated balls better in American football? For anyone that wouldn't know.
So it's the thought is that you can make them fly farther, or you can have more control over them because, they've got a little bit more give. I don't know that they necessarily fly farther, but you can have a little bit more control over them, maybe a little more touch, helps your receivers catch it. It's one of those things, actually, when the game where it was discovered, one of the Colts players it was against the Indianapolis Colts who they were playing. One of the Colts players interviewed after it, and who I think had some of the balls that they found were out of compliance. And I think he even said I'm not even sure if this is an advantage or a disadvantage. He was like, I never even noticed it. So Patriots fans were sweeping it under the rug. This is not a very big thing. It was one of those things where Pats fans thought it was a nothing burger. Other fans thought it was the worst thing ever. Sure. He got suspended. Brady got suspended 4 games, which I don't know if that's right or wrong, but people kind of lost their minds over it a little bit. But anyway, it just kind of adds to this ethos of everything goes right for the Patriots. Everything, they're trying to cheat, they get away with it. So yeah, it gets to that point, and then these final 3 Super Bowls that they win were kind of toward the end of Tom Brady's career. Super Bowl 49, they beat the Seattle Seahawks. Super Bowl 51, that was one of Brady's their 5th Super Bowl. It was kind of Brady's crowning achievement of this comeback artist.
The Atlanta.
Yeah, the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah,
they were
20 points in the hole, and they came back in the last quarter or something like that.
Yeah, more than 20. It was a 28-3 game. And they ended up coming back
remarkable.
And winning it in overtime. It was unbelievable.
Watching the highlights, I watched that one live as well. That was incredible. Yeah,
and America groaned. Everybody was like, "Please, for the love of God, let the Falcons, who had never won, still haven't won a Super Bowl to this day." And this was the best team the Falcons have ever had. They're like, oh my God, let them win. They're about to win. It's 28-3 in the second half. Oh my God.
And they were gonna humiliate the Patriots as well.
Yes.
28-3. If you keep them even to a 2-score game, and the Patriots have got 10 points, 28-3 for a maiden Super Bowl win is incredible and so disrespectful to the Pats, who kind of deserve getting humiliated.
Yeah, they simultaneously deserve respect and humiliation.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the whole thing, I guess, with dynasties like this. But especially one as polarizing as the Patriots were. So they come back and win this. America groans, loses their minds. Oh my God, I don't know how much more I can take of this. The Patriots then make the next Super Bowl, Super Bowl 52, the other one that we talked about. The Philadelphia Eagles win their first Super Bowl. They topple the Patriots. Everyone's like, hallelujah, ding dong, the witch is dead. We can finally call this over. Not so fast, my friend. The very next year, they're freaking back again. Super Bowl 53. And this one is significant because it is the final one of the dynasty. It is the 6th Super Bowl for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. But 6 is also a bit of a magic number in the NFL with Super Bowls because to that point, and you're smiling, I think you know what I'm about to say.
I know, yeah.
No team other than our beloved Pittsburgh Steelers had ever reached that threshold. So they tied the Steelers for the most Super Bowls in NFL history. This team that 20 years before had known nothing but pretty quarterbacks and losing seasons. They ended up tying one of the premier franchises in the NFL that's been around since 1933, almost 30 years longer than the Patriots, and it's cemented Bill Belichick and Tom Brady as the greatest to ever do it in the NFL. So obviously we could kind of extend this to Tom Brady. He impressively left the Patriots and went on to win another Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is just one of the most incredible stories. He was 40 years old and won the NFL MVP. Like, just unbelievable stuff. As much as, like, as annoying as it was to watch in real time, we'll look back on it and truly appreciate how incredibly talented
of course,
and amazing he ended up being. So that's the end of the dynasty. After Brady leaves, Belichick sticks around for several more years, but like they don't have another quarterback that that can kind of rise to that level. A lot of people use this as evidence that like Belichick was never anything without Brady, which I don't think is true. He had success in Cleveland before. He also won a couple Super Bowls as with under Bill Parcells as a defensive coordinator. People will use what's happening at Carolina now to say something similar.
But equally, Tom Brady might not have ever been a starting quarterback without Belichick.
Correct.
He wouldn't have, he probably wouldn't have unseated Bledsoe without Belichick's faith. The hard evidence suggests that Brady might have just swung the power of influence over in that dynamic, but we wouldn't be talking about Brady without like Belichick's initial respect and clearly seeing through the noise around a hectic draft year and seeing a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be one of the greatest athletes of all time.
Yeah.
Fair play. I think that is such an interesting symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. And there's so many other factors. I mean, like, Belichick had his teams had some of the best. Those Patriots teams had some of the best defenses too. Like, it's not like they were completely one-dimensional teams that were only winning because of their great passing attack. So it's one of those things where one couldn't exist without the other in my view anyway. So that's kind of where we leave it, and we find ourselves this week as we record, the Patriots one win away from yet another Super Bowl. And hopefully, for everybody's sake, not another dynasty.
Do you think... Actually, I can hear it in your exasperation there. America's not ready for the Patriots.
God, no.
Yet.
God, no.
But do you think the same sort of fatigue that we had for the Patriots, we started to feel for the Chiefs?
Of course, absolutely. I think I feel like I've actually I may have mentioned this at one point, and maybe it was like one of our conversations, not on the show, but like people have been saying the same thing about the Patriots, or about the Chiefs. Oh, they get all the calls. Oh, everything goes right. Oh, the NFL loves the Patriots. Oh, or the Chiefs. Oh my God. Like, I mean, you can replace them one for one. It is like people are so tired. People, again, America loves a winner until they don't.
Until we don't. And I think, guys, that takes us across our 2-minute warning. I can hear the whistle off in the off on the sidelines, and it draws us to our final question, which this week is, Adam, which market in the USA, that's not a term that is commonly used in the UK, basically which city in the USA do you or would you like to see get an expansion franchise in a sport or league of your choice?
It's a good question, and I love that's one of the things. The fact that we use market is just like another.
Yeah, it's disturbing.
It's so like it's so capitalistic, because what it is it's referring to like media markets. Like it's not like like it's purely like the value of your of where you live. So that's annoying. The one that I would like to see is actually not in the USA, but it's an American league. I would like to see the Quebec Nordiques return to the NHL. I think Quebec City would be amazing for another NHL expansion franchise. I personally don't think that the NHL actually needs to expand, but like if we're doing this, let's say that. I would say in a close second place, and that's just because like the Nordiques, like it's just like a classic Canadian team that it would just be like a fun rivalry that they'd have with the Montreal Canadiens. That'd be a lot of fun. I'd say in a very close second place would be Raleigh or Charlotte, preferably Raleigh, getting a Major League Baseball team. Wouldn't do much for me now. I don't live there anymore, but that was always something that I would have loved when I was a kid. So. Do you have an American? Have you thought about this, Harry, for your American?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
I like both of yours, but I would like, specifically, I think the only sport where it would work is football.
Okay.
Give to the 41st most populated state. You want to guess what that is? 41st. I mean, that's a tough.
What?
Yeah, no.
Let's guess. Shoot.
This state has 0 major league.
Let's go with New Mexico.
You are so close. That is the 37th.
Oh wow.
I think the city of Honolulu. There are worse places for a franchise. I think the actually obvious answer would be baseball, but there's so much traveling involved that the literal space would get in the way. But if the NFL is serious about having a overseas team, Honolulu is only I had it earlier. Honolulu is only the 25th biggest. Oh, hold on. No. Oh, my God. Let me do that again.
That's okay.
Honolulu is the 32nd biggest market in America, and there are 32 teams.
There you go.
So it's bigger than Green Bay, which obviously has a team in a small market for a completely different reason. But yeah, there are many states in the US unrepresented completely by major league teams. Obviously, the less populous, the more sparsely populated ones in the Midwest, it's harder to justify it for. But Honolulu, that is a city of almost 1 million people.
Yeah,
give it a team.
It's
got a college team, right?
Yeah, the University of Hawaii. There actually used to be a minor league baseball team there for years called the Hawaii Islanders. It was funny enough, one of the most famous broadcasters in American sports, a guy by the name of Al Michaels, one of his first professional jobs was calling games for the Hawaii Islanders.
That's cool.
So anyway, but I think that's the final whistle. That was a good question, Harry. But yeah, appreciate everybody listening and watching. Would appreciate a like, rating, review, comment, whatever the system is on your platform of choice. We'd appreciate that engagement. And it's not just because of we want the numbers built up. We want to hear from you. We love hearing from our listeners and viewers. So appreciate every single one of you. But yes, please watch us on YouTube, listen or watch to us, listen to us or watch us on Spotify, and then check out our content on Instagram and TikTok. I know Harry is getting ready to kick off a very fun series that may or may not have started by the time this episode's posted. I don't know. Neither of us know that yet. So we'll just leave that with a little teaser, because if you're a fan of Harry reviewing things, I think you'll enjoy this one. It's a little teaser. So appreciate all that. Appreciate all of you. Special thanks to producer Luke for our logo, and we'll see you next time.